So handing the baton over now, Zoe de Toledo joins me for the last few races through to T, as we now get to the men's single sculls. The Diamonds challenge Sculls, and Van Blokland on the right and Pascovitch on the left. One of the big prestigious events of the regatta here, and the big disappointment, I want to touch on it now and then we'll come back to it, is that it was all set up for Mahe Drysdale versus Alan Campbell. Mahe, the Kiwi world champion and Olympic champion, and Alan Campbell, his erstwhile best friend but training partner and rival out on the water. Alan Campbell has had to withdraw from that. Jürgen Grobler told him to focus on Lucerne, which is next weekend. And so that's just opened up the side of the draw that Alan Campbell was on here. But meanwhile, Zoe, we've got a good old battle here in the Diamond Single Sculls.
Yes, I think the Dutch sculler here does have a little bit more experience perhaps than the British sculler from City of Bristol, who is also doubling up in the double sculls, I believe. So not his only race here at Henley Royal Regatta. And the Dutch sculler seems to have established a pretty comfortable lead there. He can look over now at his opposition and counter any moves he might make.
So just looking as we already kind of go through. We're not even at the quarter mark here, and already we're just seeing this is just a Pascovitch to the left of your picture. Just struggling here on the right, on the bark side, Van Blokland. DSR Proteus Retis from Holland here. We'll call him DSR going forwards. Makes life just a little bit easier.
You can see from this shot the scullers heading towards us. It can be a little bit deceptive. It can make it look like crews are slightly closer together than they appear to be, but you can see that Van Blokland really sitting out tall ahead there. He looks pretty relaxed, just letting his boat travel through the water quite smoothly. You can see there the launch wash created by the umpire's boat. You don't want to be stuck behind that when you're warming up for your next race.
Zoe, that little chat about the use of the single scull in your group in the women's team through the winter, and coming down, you're coxing the eights, the women's eights there, but the smaller boats are very important as well, aren't they?
The smaller boats form a large part of selection for the GB team. The early races into squad races are done in singles, and then they move, the sweep squad move into the pairs. So there is a large focus on the single sculling for the ladies, especially in the winter, which unfortunately for me translates into a lot of time on the bike, pretending to coach or babysitting, which I can't say is my favourite thing to do.
Babysitting the girls in the team?
Or the coaches.
Or the coaches.
Bit of both.
Throw it inside there to what goes on in Caversham. That fortress, that you get anywhere near it, I think there's alarms that go off. So back on the course though, as we midway down here now, and as we expected, Martin van Blokland from the Netherlands, coming up towards the halfway mark here. Competed for the under 23 level back in 2011 for the Netherlands. This is his first time at this regatta. His coach Dion Hoetzager coached Merlin Verhoeven, who was winner of this event back in 1996, way back when. So again, if you're going to come here and race for your very first time, you want to come here with an experienced coach on board. And that is what Van Blokland is doing right now. Aaron Pascovitch, out of your picture to the left, when we won the Masters at the A event at the Scullers Head back in November. But again, you'd see there is obviously a difference in class here. Now, though, again, we talk about this on the international stage when it's 6 lanes across and 2,000 meters. We talk about the gladiatorial nature of it. We talk about the mindset that is required here, that they all know each other in that scene, on that setting. The great thing about the Diamond Sculls Challenge at Henley is no one knows about each other. There's a real mixture, isn't there, Zoe, of so you don't know what the scullers are going to do, what your competition is going to do. You don't know how fast they are.
No, absolutely, and there's certainly the aspect that you need to make sure that you go out hard and you go out aggressively, just in case your opposition is a little bit more than you expected. I know that if Pascovitch is doubling up, he might perhaps be thinking now this is the time to conserve energy for tomorrow's race. I think he's got the Graves double from the US, so there'll be fearsome opponents tomorrow, and perhaps at this point he's thinking, well, I'm not going to get back through here. Maybe now I should relax a little bit and save myself for tomorrow.
You're training at Caversham with your team, you're the cocks of the women's 8, Lucerne next week, the week after Henley. Everything seems to be going well and coming back up for you there. Can you give us an insight also, Alan Campbell as well? We're going to talk more about the women's 8 through the next few days. You're racing at the Remenham in the Remenham Challenge at the, I think it's at the weekend. Is it? You start the weekend?
Start tomorrow.
Start tomorrow.
Yeah.
So any focusing on the single sculls here, and Alan Campbell, you see him up and down. Is he good? Is he looking all right? Is he happy? Is he smiling?
Yeah, Alan is usually smiling. We always make fun of Alan because for some reason he seems to create an awful lot of wash for such a small boat. So we always try and avoid rowing behind him at any point in time at Caversham. But no, I think he's made a sensible decision to focus on Lucerne, which unfortunately for the GB team, as much as we love Henley, has got to be our main focus and our main priority. And for him, having missed out on World Championships last year, it's going to be very important that he puts in a good performance at Lucerne and can set himself up nicely for the World Championship finish that he probably deserves.
One of the events, back in the day, this event, when you get through to the latter stages, semi-finals and finals, has really set up some great challenges. One of the events that, and dare I say it, just between you and I, don't mention it beyond us, that Sir Steve Redgrave hasn't won here. I believe it's a sore point, but I just leave that with you. Don't mention it if you are down and around the regatta, if you do bump into him. But it's because he loves this event. He loves single sculls because it is down to you. You're good and bad on the day. No one else responsible but for yourself here. And we're seeing a great performance here by Martin van Blokland from DSR Proteus Regatta from Holland, former under-23. First time we've come to this regatta. Pascovitch from the city of Bristol Rowing Club.
One of the interesting things to notice with a lot of the crews, the international crews who are racing over 2K, and that's what they really are trained for, is how the extra 112 metres and that little bit of upstream rowing can really catch them out. Quite often you see international crews competing against each other, and one will really struggle in the dying stages of the race, perhaps just not quite tailoring their race plan effectively or slightly misjudging the distance.
You were out on this course earlier today. I saw you guys coming down the course.
We were.
Give us an insight. It's just, it must be a great feeling when you're here rowing competing in front of the home crowd.
Yeah, we rowed in the lunch break today, and it was probably one of the bounciest rows I've ever had at Henley Royal. But no, fantastic. The atmosphere is always great. And still getting cheers even as we're just out training, which is lovely to hear.
That's one of the special things about this place. It's always one of the special things for me as well as a spectator when you've got your national team here racing in their club colours. We look forward to seeing Zoe coming down in the women's 8 tomorrow in the Remenham Challenge Cup. But meanwhile, out front and safely over into the next round. He is not going to have it all his own way tomorrow. Martin van Blokland from DSR Proteus Regatta, Holland, safely through convincingly from Pascovitch, Aaron Pascovitch from the city of Bristol Rowing.